Good evening, and welcome to episode 2 of the Horror and Toys podcast. I'll be your host, Magnus, and we are back by what seems to be popular demand. Before we get started, I do want to just take a minute to say thank you to everybody that has shown their support, and to all of those that have given me the motivation to get this thing off of the ground. Now, as many of you already know through my multiple text messages and social media posts from this morning, we are posted on buzzsprout.com, and now, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let me get a drum roll, please. We are now listed on Apple Podcasts. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Today's episode, we're taking a road trip to the west to our neighbors over in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. So go ahead and grab a blanket, make yourself a nice drink. Oh, and don't forget the floss water. Today we're diving into the legend of the Mothman. Before we get started, I want to clarify that we're talking about the legend, not the movie with Richard Gere. Now that we have that cleared up, let's head on back to November 12th of 1966. It was on that fateful day that a local gravedigger from Clinton in West Virginia spotted something bizarre. When questioned about his account, the gravedigger stated that he was distracted from his work from a large, human-like figure that was jumping from tree to tree. This, in fact, would be the first reported sighting of the Mothman. I feel that this original claim raises more questions than answers. Most importantly, what was this creature spotted in a small West Virginia town? What drove this creature out of hiding? And finally, what were its motives? Only 3 days after the initial account of the gravedigger, multiple accounts from people in this West Virginia town were popping up, describing the character to be at least 6 or 7 feet tall and a winged creature that stood before them. As panic ensued over this small West Virginia town, claims became more specific, saying that the creature had beady red eyes and a wingspan that reached at least 10 feet. Other eyewitnesses say that the creature was capable of flight upwards to the speed of 100 miles per hour. And while I personally feel that some of these claims were exaggerated due to fear and panic, there's no way you can convince the people of this small West Virginian town. In fact, these multiple claims caused such a stir that the local newspaper ended up printing an article on it, only invoking more sightings and fear within the community. The article did its best to try to calm down the community by stating that the creature was probably just a large bird, but then ended up invoking more fear by listing a statement from a key witness saying that it was like a man with wings. Once this broke out into local media, panic was all over, including the local fire department, who claimed to witness the beastly character with large, red, beady eyes. Once the national press got a hold of this local lore, hometown fear became nationwide claims of seeing this beast. As accounts continued to pour in on this winged Goliath, conspiracy theorists took the opportunity and ran with it. Was this paranormal activity? Did this creature have something to do with UFOs and aliens? Or perhaps this character was the harbinger of doom? Here at the Horror and Toys podcast, you can believe whatever you want. But what I will tell you is that what happened to that small Point Pleasant community shortly after his first sighting is less than coincidental. So let's take just a moment to review. November 12th, 1966, in Clinton in West Virginia, a gravedigger spotted a large figure with wings jumping from tree to tree. Chaos ensues and the town is up in arms about what this creature could be. Local legend becomes nationwide fear as claims and spottings of this creature start popping up all over the United States. Once again, we're left with the question, why? Why is this creature here? Well, boys and girls, let's find out. Alright, bear with me. It seems that I've pressed the wrong screen button. Let's try that again.
Oh yeah, that's the good stuff, baby.
December 15th, 1967. After the initial sighting of the Mothman, tragedy ensues in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. As commuters traveled on the Silver Bridge that connected Point Pleasant, West Virginia and Gallipolis, Ohio, traffic began to back up and overbear on this man-made structure. It was a brisk December day when 46 people would lose their lives. The structure simply could not take any more weight, and as support beams started to crack, equilibrium of the bridge just gave way. Unfortunately for our motorists that day, that meant being sent into the icy depths of the Ohio River. Being the second unnatural phenomena that happened in that small town within just about a period of a year, people started piecing the two together. So let's rewind the tapes just a little bit and talk about the term the harbinger of doom. It was believed that the Mothman was kind of an overseer of any sort of catastrophe. Even as time went on, people linked the Mothman to the Chernobyl disaster, the Mexican swine flu, and even as recent as 2011 with the nuclear disaster in Fukushima, Japan. Whether you believe the Mothman was the harbinger of doom and despair or not, I want to touch on the weirdest part of this urban legend. For me, that would have to be the annual parade held for the Mothman in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. I'm just trying to wrap my head around what we're commemorating on a year-to-year basis.
Mothman, my dude, thanks for taking that bridge out.
Totally, man. No problem. The pleasure was all mine.
Perhaps it's a 15 minutes of fame situation, but the town of Point Pleasant still has a 12-foot tall chrome statue with steel wings and ruby red eyes. I guess tourist income is a steady source of revenue. Now that I think about it, the Mothman Festival sounds like a blast. Funnel cakes, carnival games, and t-shirts with a picture of a porch light on with moths around it that say, "Catch me outside, how about that?" Ladies and gentlemen, I think I smell a new business venture. Once again, as always, I'd love to hear from any of you that might have any experiences with the Mothman or the town of Point Pleasant. This episode was requested by one of my listeners, Deborah, betterly known as
Mother Monster.
I hope that this episode was everything that you could have dreamed of and more. And thank you for your submission, letting us bug out with the Mothman. I just want to say that in the past 24 hours, I've had numerous requests roll in. I want to give the people what they want. Don't make me do a thunderstorm over the graveyard again. I think that about does it for episode 2 of our podcast. I'm Magnus, the disembodied head whispering into your ear holes. Oh, and one last thing before you leave. Clowns are just people too.